am Celia, creator of Let's Talk Terror, and today I'm joined again by my friend Rafael Flores Jr., the mind behind the horror comic series, The Return of Camazotz. This story of an ancient Mayan bat god brought back to life by twin brothers has already captured readers' imaginations, and Rafael is here to talk about his newest Kickstarter campaign for Volume 3. We're diving into mythology, monsters, and the magic behind independent comics. So stay spooky and let's get into it. Hello, Rafael, my dear
Hey,
friend with the hair. I just love
yeah. Oh my God. I
it.
I feel like I need to fix it up, you know what I
No, it's
mean?
beautiful. I love it. Don't change. Don't let anybody tell you anything different.
Yeah, no, everybody is very like complimentary about it all the time to me, which really helps me out through
It's beautiful. It's
it.
beautiful. So we are here to talk about Camazotz. It is my understanding that we're doing a campaign for
hmm
issues 1 through 3
Yep, and the graphic novel.
and
So
the graphic
it's
novel.
all together. It's just, this is the final Kickstarter. Issues 1 through 3. So if you back the first two and you just want the third issue, you can get it. But all for new readers as well, if you want to get the graphic novel, like that, this is the perfect time to do it.
Oh, perfect. Well, let's get right into it then. I think we're going to talk about a little about the overall mythology and some of the characters, maybe some of the story we might hear in this third edition.
hmm
If you're like me and you've read the first two, I'm more focused on the third edition, but we'll get into it. We'll get into it.
hmm
So, without giving too much away, where does the Return of Camazotz Part 3 pick up?
All right, so in the last issue, we saw the twins. They finally reunited with their mother and Shibaba in the afterworld. So that was kind of the cliffhanger we left people on the second issue, and so this following issue it picks up right after that. So we finally learn about the mother and the mother's sacrifice that she did for her brother for her sons, like what happened to her and why it happened. We get some we I'll just say this, we're introduced to the cult of Kamazats.
Hmm.
So this is like something, that shadowy thing that's been going on in the background of the series. Well, if you've been reading, something that's been kind of pulling the strings, as Bela Lugosi would like to say, um, and just like really forcing these characters to go through this. So the cult of Kamazats will be revealed, and we'll learn a little bit about them. And yeah, and after that, it's really it's up to Victor now to really decide what happens next. And really it just gets crazy. It just gets insane. I'll just say that it's very bloody. Yeah.
Oh, it's like I like how you came ready with the bat references with Bella Lugosi. I love that. Stay
Yeah.
ready. But man, these let me tell you, these cliffhangers be killing me, man. I've been
I
waiting. I've just been waiting for this. So I'm happy that it's finally here. We're gonna see some violence. I love it.
mhm. I'm super proud of how we've been able to get the cliffhangers to be so cliffhangery.
Yes.
Like, because when I wrote the script all the way through, like it was the full graphic novel with no like real ending. Like it was just from beginning, middle, end. Like there was no like this is where the chapter is gonna end. This is where the other chapter is gonna end. I didn't have that in mind when I was writing it, but I think because I wrote it in a very structured way with like a, 3 acts or 4 acts or however many acts, I don't really know. But but I think there's like 4 acts. There's like 3 acts and then there's a very end.
Yeah.
But the way I wrote it and the way I read it, it just was perfect for these cliffhangers to be where they are. So I'm very proud of it. Like, even though we're gonna have the graphic novel coming out, like I still want to sell the issues, like because to
Yeah.
me, like comic books are like that's what comic books are. They're the single issue floppies, and so in the future, like even though I'll have the graphic novel, I think I'm gonna keep the floppies as for people who really want to collect them.
You should. And I will say, I've never been like a comic book girl at all until now. And it's like, no, please, please make them because I will buy them. I love having
Yeah.
the little individual floppies. I love
Hmm.
those. So, Kamzat's the first two issues. You introduce readers to, you have a mythology side and then you have like a human struggle side. How do you balance all of these things and then also make it horror and then also make it like this emotional journey? Is there anything special that you do, or is it just, I'm going to throw all these things together and it'll work out?
For me personally, whenever I was learning about writing and writing comic books, one of the things I learned was that emotion is a very key storytelling tool. Not just like it's not just something that, like as writers, we need to understand the emotion of the scene, every scene and every page. We need to understand what the emotion of the characters are feeling. And so I feel like you can't really have like good scares and good action scenes if the emotion isn't there, if there's no like weight to it, like because otherwise you're throwing stuff whatever.
Right,
But
right.
like but if you, as long as the characters are feeling the emotions, that the readers will feel the emotion. So, like the first issue, it was very much kind of like a somber, sad issue. It was about the brothers dealing with the loss of the mother, and then it was about the victor dealing with the loss of his brother, and just it was just like kind of sad. The second issue was very much about like dealing with that loss, but then also dealing with a newfound love, like kind of
Mm,
like this contrasting of the two. And then the third issue is more about really it's about revenge in a way, revenge for your family, and then but it's also about hope. There's a lot of hope in there, and I like to contrast emotions because I think we're as human beings we're very complex and we feel different emotions at the same times. So we can feel anger and sadness at the same time. um and so it was about conveying emotion that the characters were feeling through the story and trying to make that the through line of the story. Like, really, like, all right, we start off sad and then we build up, they're getting a little happy, and then tragic happens and then sad again or whatever. It's a roller coaster of emotions. And I feel like you can't really tell a good story if you're not using emotion as the key to your story. And that was just one of the things I've learned from some other, I forget his name, but he wrote a real good book about emotions and all the different types of emotions. Like I didn't even know some of
yeah.
these emotions had names. But he was able to kind of describe it all and like kind of say like, look, this is what stories are. They're not, first act, second act, or like this happens and then this happens. It's really emotion, like is what you want to give the reader. So
Right.
yeah, so that was kind of like my balance. Like there was a balance of it. So like you wanted to mix the horror and the action. But the emotion is the main important part. If there's no emotional story there, then it's not going to work out. But the horror and the action, that all has to feed into the emotion. So whatever, like, so like in the beginning of the first issue we have the action scene where Kamazotz comes and he attacks the
Mhm.
brothers. Like that directly leads into what the emotion of the characters are going to feel afterwards, because now after what happened, Victor is all sad, he's depressed, he's like he lost his brother. So it's about making sure that the horror and the action feeds into the emotion of the characters feeling.
Along those same lines, how does Victor's curse change throughout this whole story?
So in the first issue, he gets bitten by the Kamazotz. That's gonna allow him to, or that's gonna cause him to become the next one. And he's kind of having to fight with this his dilemma is that he doesn't know what's going to happen when he becomes Camazotz. For all he knows, Camazotz is the destructive force. I mean, he was killed by. I mean, his brother was killed by Camazotz, and he was attacked by Camazotz. So he thinks whenever he becomes this thing, is he's going to become a monster. He's going to become a beast, like an uncontrollable force of destruction. And as we, read issue 2, we learn a little bit more about Camazotz and the reasons why he became Camazotz. The gods created Camazotz for a purpose, and Victor's now having to feel like I'm destined for this purpose to become Camazotz, and so in this third issue, I'm not going to spoil what happens, but
Okay.
let's just say he does become the Camazotz. This now is going to affect how I tell the story, forward, because like he has this kind of now fight between the monstrous, destructive side of Camazotz, but also the love and the compassion and the human side of Victor. So it's about kind of trying to control the monstrous side, but it's also, it's just about, I guess it is about controlling it, but using it for good. And that was I think the main goal is like, yeah, Kamazatsu is this cool, destructive bat god of death, but can he be used for good? And that was where I'm taking Victor Future on.
Yeah. All of that almost sounds kind of like classic universal monsters. Like we're human, but like we're trying to control the monster. And I like that. At the center of all of this is Mesoamerican mythology. So we're gonna talk about that some because you have described Kamzatz as both monster and like this big cultural symbol. And I remember we talked about before how this Central American, South American, all this mythology is very underrepresented right now. Do you think that your series has kind of brought that up into not necessarily into mainstream, but helped let people learn more about this?
I think for sure. I mean, because we've been looking at the numbers of the views and the likes of all of our posts and all of our things that we put out there into the world. I mean, we got like over almost 5,000 now views on Global Comics for our comic book. So people are looking at it. They're definitely seeing it. And it's kind of crazy because like when I first did this first comic book, like there was almost no like media out there with Kamazotz in it. And now 3 years later, or what have you, like I'm seeing Kamazotz and coming out in like in the Kong universe. I've seen him. There's like a new Stranger Things episode called Escape from Kamazotz.
Really?
Yeah, and
Crazy.
like the new Batman Aztec movie that
Yeah.
came out. I mean, that drew a lot of inspiration from Kamazotz. So I think it's definitely I'm not saying I'm the one who, made this happen or
It's okay.
whatever.
You can say it. We all know. We all know.
Right? I think it is too, right? But I think I did it cooler and like more authentic, honestly, than anyone has done it. And I think that's important to do. But yeah, and I just think that he is a cool figure, and he is going to be a part of my life. I feel like forever. I'm very proud that my debut comic was The Return of Camazotz, and that this series is going to probably continue and follow me for the rest of my life. I'm proud of that, and I'm happy for that. I I think that Kamazatz is like this force, like supernatural force that's going on in the background that is saying, like, look, I want you to tell my story. I want you to bring me back to life, bring me back to revelance, and like say, like, look, like I know y'all love Batman and y'all want another like 13th Batman film, but
But
like
I'm the real
but
Batman.
I'm the real Batman. Yeah, exactly. I'm the real Batman. I'm like the one that's been here this whole time. Tell my story. Give readers and viewers something new. And so I think that there is a hunger for these types of stories, and I can just see that's growing, you know.
So we are currently in 2025, and that is modern times, and these stories about Kamazats are not modern in the least bit. So everyone who is researching Kamazats and looking into it, including you, we all kind of have our own interpretation of these stories because we were not there when they were first created.
Yeah.
Do you think that, well, not even do you think, how has your interpretation of this Mayan bat god that is Kamazats, how has that changed between each volume from when you started up until now with this third one?
Um,
Or do you think it has changed? Maybe it's stayed the same. Maybe you've, I don't know, have you stuck very closely to source material or have you taken some
so
liberties
okay,
somewhere?
all right. No, I can say this. When I first started, learning about Kamazats, there was definitely like two sides of what Kamazats was. So there was the idea that he was this bat god, he was a singular deity, and then there was this other kind of like people were saying like, no, he Kamazats was a type of bat that lived in Shibaba or lived in the underworld, and there was many of them, and so that like many of them, there was like a swarm of them, like they all lived there, and they were all collectively called Kamazats. And so that idea, like I didn't really, well, I did think about it a lot when I was writing the story of like these two kind of divisive sides that Mexicans, Latinos were on each side. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
we were all saying like, no, this is the real one, and then other people were saying, no, this is the real idea of Kamazats. Kamazats is, some people were saying he Kamazats was one thing, Kamazats was many things, right? So I really actually took that idea and I really even applied it to my story because in the beginning, in this first issue or the first series, Kamazats is this like one deity, and Victor is going to become Kamazats eternal, eternal, or whatever it is called. He's going to become the one and only Kamazats. But whenever you read this third issue, you're gonna realize that no, Kamazats isn't just one. Kamazats is many, and Kamazats is more than just one person. That, and so like, and there's the cult of Kamazats, right? And that's part of my story. But like there's this idea that I wanted to kind of really convey to the reader, and it was that it's both. There is a Kamazats, there is a one true Kamazats, sure. And that is because maybe mythology that has evolved throughout time, that's how it's become. And I don't think mythology necessarily has a beginning, middle, and end. I think it's an eternal thing that's constantly being reinvented.
Yeah.
And so so some people will say like, no, the true mythology is this, right? But I'm like, no, the mythology is ever evolving because we're continuing to tell the story. um and so I like to kind of take the two ideas of what Kamazats meant, put them together, and like be like, it's both. It's not one or the other, it's both. And so that was kind of how, that was my revelation of what Kamazats is and what Kamazats means. Um, it isn't just a deity, and it isn't just all these bats are living in Shababa. It's both. There is a race of Kamazats, and there is a one true Kamazats. He is the leader of the Kamazats or whatever.
Okay.
And so that's my kind of interpretation of the figure.
The Kamazats was in you the whole time.
Yes, yes, and it is. It's in everybody. Okay.
Let's turn and talk about the actually putting together the behind the scenes of making these floppies and this graphic
Mhm.
novel. How has your creative process changed between volumes one, two, and three? As in, like, how have you and your collaborators worked together? Has that changed at all? Do you have like a totally different feel between volumes working together, or is it just, okay, guys, we're gonna, we're doing volume three. We already know what's up.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
I think it's the last one. I mean, we've done it three times at this point. Like when I was first working with Azrael and the publisher Grimcore Studios, there was a lot of like, are we doing this right? Like, what are we doing? But now that we're on the third issue, oh my God, it's so seamless. Like this has literally been the quickest turnaround that we've had, and the artist Azriel has been like on top of everything. You know what I mean? The story was already written like a long time ago, so the story was already there. But I definitely feel like with this last issue, that the whole team has been more like connected and bonded through the struggles and the failures of the first and second issue. I mean, we didn't fail that much, honestly, but
I
we
don't think you
learned
failed at all. I loved it.
we had some lessons to learn. You know what I mean? And this third issue, it's my favorite issue. The ending, ugh, oh my god, it's gonna get me.
I can't wait. So speaking of this writing process, were there any risks that you were like, I wonder how the readers will think about what's happening here? Or maybe in the background, was there anything that, maybe one of the artists is like, what if I drew something this way as opposed
Mhm.
to how I've been doing it? Were there any risks that you guys decided to take here?
There were a little bit for a lot of the action scenes that we see in the third issue. Azrael took the reins on that stuff. I might have written like, "Hey, this is gonna be like a page or two, all right, and I want this to happen." And then he would come back and he'd be like, "No, like I think this needs a little bit more pages, and we need to extend these scenes." And so I was like, okay, like, I trust you, you're my we've been through this whole thing together. So like, of course, do what you think needs to be done. And I will try to, work with what you make. So there were in the action scenes that you see in the third issue, Azrael really took the reins on that. And it's because like, honestly, this is my first time writing a comic book, and like action scenes are really hard to write if you don't like like I don't know, mixed martial arts and I don't know, choreography and all that stuff. Like, I mean, that's stuff you got to learn, honestly. But if you want to write a good action scene, but artists, a lot of times they do know that kind of stuff. They do study that stuff, and so it was really cool to kind of give the reins to Azriel, let him just design these really cool action sequences that we see. He elongated some of the scenes that we felt like needed more impact. So it was really cool. It's like when we started this, we were very strictly like DC like method of writing a script. The artist has to follow it. But it's funny because like when you're working with a team, and then if you work for them for so long, you start to do the Marvel method, which is where you kind of just tell them like, hey, here's an idea. Like, can you draw it? And they kind of come up with something, and then like it becomes even better than what your idea was. So it's a push and pull, and it's a trust with the artist and the writer. So yeah, I mean, we took a couple of risks. I wouldn't say that like they're crazy risks or anything. We just added some extra pages in there, which I think really helped benefit the story.
So speaking of Marvel and DC, if the Return of Camazotz could be made into like a movie or an animated series or even like a just a one-off animated movie, are there any scenes from this third edition that you're like really excited to to let people see if it could be made into something, you know, more
I
than
think
a standalone page?
for me personally, my most favorite scene in this entire story is the last like page. The last dude, like that page, it's everything about the story. It is literally it means so much to me, that last page. Because I'm not gonna reveal what it is or what happens, but it's such an impactful moment for me as the writer that like that's whenever it got to that page, I was like, and this is the end. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's it. That's where I want to leave people off and say like goodbye, like I do hope we do more, and obviously, and I would love for this to get made into a movie, a animated movie, whatever, a TV series. I'm there for it, and call me up because I'll write it for you or whatever. But like that last page of this series, that's all I want to see is like if we can get to there, then I'll be crying in the theater like a baby. Like
Oh. All right, Kickstarter time. Because it is on Kickstarter, right? And not Indiegogo? Okay.
yeah, it's on Kickstarter. Yep.
Okay,
And
just making sure because some people do one and some people do the other and some people do like
they do
a
both or
whole
whatever at the
third
same
ones.
time. Yeah.
So you're on this new Kickstarter campaign. What have you learned from previous campaigns that you're like, all right, we're not about to do that. We're gonna do this. It'll go more smoothly. It'll, maybe garner some more attention. Is there anything
Mhm.
that you changed from previous campaigns?
We learned a lot of lessons from like the first and second campaign. In the first one, we did like these bloody horror like variant covers, and they didn't really sell much. Like we only got maybe like a couple backers for them.
Really?
But
Oh,
those, and it's funny because like those became very super rare limited edition variant covers that
which I am the proud owner of.
there's only a few of them in existence. And so it kind of worked in a good way and about, you know what I mean? Like, because nobody
Yeah,
bought it because it became a little more limited. So that's how comics kind of work in a way. Limited edition or limited editions are very valuable.
yeah,
So we learned like we're not going to do the bloody variants next time, because nobody bought them. So, in the second Kickstarter, we did just a bunch of different variant covers, and they all kind of sold like pretty equally, I felt. And but the in the second issue we did like t-shirts, and those kind of came out kind of weird. Like they didn't really come. They came out a little funky. So this third Kickstarter, we're not going to do t-shirts because we don't really want to do t-shirts unless we're satisfied with them. You know what I mean?
right.
We want them to be good and like look good on people. So it's just about learning from your mistakes and how things come out. You never really know how things are going to come out from a printer. You send them your stuff and you just hope
Yeah,
it's going to come out good. But as far as the comics go, the comics have been beautiful. It doesn't matter what the cover is, each interior page is like beautiful. So that's what we're focusing on with this third Kickstarter is like, we're just happy to celebrate that it's finally done. We got all three issues. We got the graphic novel together. This is like a celebration of our accomplishment as like a new publisher at Grimcore Studios, as a writer myself, and an artist, Azrael. We're just happy that it's finally done. We can give it out to everybody, and it's the complete story. So that's the main focus. It's not about the variant covers. It's not about the t-shirts and all the extra stuff. It's about the story, and it's about the comic book.
along those same lines, after you released the first two issues, were there any comments from readers that you really, took to heart in making this third issue? Did anyone say anything specific, or it was all good news?
When it comes to writing the third issue, I mean, like I wrote the whole thing like at one time, and so a lot of the feedback that we got, for the first and second issue, I couldn't really apply it. You know what I mean? Like because I'd
Yeah,
already finished writing the story; it was already on its trajectory. So a little bit of the criticism that I got, which was really constructive criticism, I really appreciate those who did took the time to actually give me criticism. Like I really appreciated it because it really did help me learn a lot about writing comic books, and that stuff I can take to my future comic book work. um but as far as like storytelling and like with the most thing we've gotten from people is that they want more. They just want to read more Kamazotz. They love the
yes,
stories. They
more,
love
give me more.
they love the characters, and they just wanted it to keep going. And so that I have really taken to heart. And like honestly, that just makes me want to keep writing the story and keep it going forever because like I would love it too, and I love it just as much as all these people that say they do. And so that's probably the number one thing, is that like the fact that people do love it and they relate to it and they love the characters. That just makes me want to keep writing it and keep it going. And there's no telling when it'll stop. You know what I mean? Like I definitely can keep it going. So I'm just happy that people do like it and they want to read more, because that makes me just want to write more. So.
Looking forward. So by the time this volume comes out, we have this whole world established. We have the lore, we have rules of what goes on and what doesn't go on in the world of Camazotz. Do you see, you kind of already answered this, but is there really an end game to all this, or can Camazotz live on indefinitely? I hope it's the last. I hope it's the last answer because I
Yeah.
do want more. You're not allowed to do just three. You have to
I
keep going.
I think I think it can definitely keep going after this. And we do have plans. We've thought about it. Like I've talked to the publisher about other ideas of where we can take the series. One of my favorite characters from while writing this story was Eatsley, the nurse. And her backstory was very intriguing to me, and it only grew as we kept releasing the issues. So I think it's going to be like a trilogy of graphic novels, and this would just be the first one.
Okay.
And so I think the next one is going to be a little bit more focused on Eatsley and what happens after, this third issue, what happens to her character, and what happens, what's going to happen after that. I haven't written it yet. I have another idea for like the third book that's going to come out. I have to write the second book to really know what's going to happen in the third book, but
Right.
I do have ideas, and we've thought of like spin-offs and like stuff like that. Like I would really like to tell some of the actual like Mayan hero twins, like their
I
history, like
was gonna
the
say, do you have any
um
ideas for spin-offs after Camazotz is done? Okay.
yeah, like that's definitely something that we've talked about. That's something that we've considered. And I don't know if it's going to be something that's like done off the side, like here's like a little mini series or whatever, or maybe this is just part of what's going to go into the second book and the third book. But we definitely hear you guys saying that y'all want more, and we want to give y'all more. Um, and yeah, I just I love the series as well, and I could keep writing it forever. Honestly, I could. But also there is a part of me that's um, like I do, as the creator and writer of this series, I do feel a responsibility to the characters to really give them a definitive end. I don't want it to go on for indefinitely until like after I die or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to be able to be the one to give it the end. So I do kind of see an end game for the. I don't really know what it is yet, but I think I definitely will be the one that gives it that
You'll
conclusion.
get there when you get there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So for those people who have never heard of Camazotz or maybe don't really do comics, why should we contribute to this Kickstarter for Camazotz? What makes it so special that we should contribute to it?
If you're not into comic books, I'm like, why not? Like, comic books are awesome. But if it's funny because like I've heard a lot of people who aren't into comic books, or maybe not even read that many comic books, actually read the book, and they tell me like, I actually like this story. Like, I was able to read it, and it was a good story, and I'm interested in the next one. You know what I mean? Like, that has been super. It's so cool to hear that. Like, because I am a comic book fan, reader. I've been reading my whole life. And I do know that there are people out there who maybe struggle to read a comic book or just don't get it or whatever. Whenever they can tell me that, like, no, I get it. And this actually made me enjoy reading a comic book. It's like, wow, then I must have done something right. Right. If I was able to get you into comic book reading, I must have done something right. So if you're not into comic books, if you're not into Mayan mythology or whatever, you should still give it a try, because honestly, comic books are just like regular books. They're just like they're like movies, TV. They're just another medium. You can tell whatever kind of story in a comic book. You can tell a history. You can tell a romance. You can tell horror, science fiction. There's It's just like another medium, and it's a beautiful medium to me. It's very important. It also draws back to our Mayan and Aztec mythology of whenever they were writing their stories, they had these pictures and they had these symbols going on, and they had this. It's called Mayan script or Aztec script. All those hieroglyphs you see, that stuff is like basically comic books. And so the way I see it is like comic books is the next evolution of all that stuff. And so I'm just continuing the lineage of telling these stories and pictures and words and images all combined. And to me, comic books is like, I don't know, to me, comic books is everything. Comic books is the next evolution of reading to me. When you go to a plane and you pick up that pamphlet and it has like pictures of what to do when you're drowning,
That's a comic book.
That's a comic book right there. Like it's readable in every language. You don't need to understand the language to read it. So anyways, you should read comic books more if you're not reading them. There's a ton of good stuff out there. Let me just shout out a few because I've been reading a bunch. Lovesick and Doll Parts by Luana. I don't know her name, Bicheo or something like that. Anyways, really cool stuff. Look up Doll Parts. Look up Lovesick. It's about this like dominatrix murderer. Like she makes snuff films, and like she's like a really cool person, and the Doll Parts is like kind of her origin story. Anyway,
Doll Parts sound crazy.
We interviewed her for like Grimcore Studios. Really cool artist. She writes and draws the comic. But like that's what I've been into like lately, is just like I love discovering new horror writers and new comic book creators that are just really doing really cool stuff. So I feel like I'm doing one of those things, with Camazotz. So go check it out. It's Mayan mythology. It's gothic. It's horror. It's really everything that I feel like I am, and everything that I feel like should already exist. Like I feel like this was something that should have existed and that didn't exist, and so I created it, and now it exists. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I'm just super proud of the work, and super happy that it now does exist in a full form. That now people can really read it and check it out and just enjoy it. Oh yeah. So this Kickstarter is running through November 1st through November 30th or 31st. I forget. The end of November.
The last day of November.
Yeah. And so there's many cool things you can get. This is the Kickstarter for both old fans and new fans. So if you've been a loyal reader and you've gotten all the issues and you just want the third issue, you can get it. If you want to get the third issue and you want the graphic novel, you can get it. If you just want the graphic novel because you didn't back the other two Kickstarters, you can get that too. So it's everything in there. We got two variant covers for the graphic novel. We have a limited edition cover and we have a regular cover. And then we have a bunch of variant covers by different artists for the third issue. And then also we have a special tier where you can actually get drawn into the comic book. So that's something, if you really want to get into that, okay, you can do that. And then if you get that tier, you get everything. So you get drawn into the comic and you get everything. So those are for our super, super special backers.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. A huge thank you to Rafael for coming to talk about Camazotz and its newest Kickstarter campaign. Be sure to check out the project, back it if you can, and spread the word about this incredible, incredible comic series. And until next time, I'm Celia from Let's Talk Terror. Keep reading horror, stay spooky, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.